Hi class, so for this week's discussion board, we're basically supposed to give an elevator speech as to what do you think about or refer to when making decisions, basically taking your ethics, values, and morals into consideration. So the very first thought that comes to my mind is stop. When it comes to making a decision of any sort, I always tell myself to stop and think. That then allows me to think rationally and helps me think about how it will affect me in the long run. By me thinking rationally, this allows me to consider all of my other values into perspective. Some of the values I take into consideration are honesty, dependability, respect, communication, just to name a few. But going back to what I mentioned earlier, I always look at my option rationally. For example, granted I'm not on a scheduled time frame, I would sit down and weigh out all my options, such as comparing and contrasting all of them. So for instance, I'm trying to figure out what is the best route for me to open up a marketing firm. To do so, I could list all the factors that I'm considering, things like the price, location, and other amenities. Then choose the one thing that's most important to me. With that in mind, which option comes out on top? Then when I do decide to make a decision, I never make it by doubting myself. I always tell myself to be confident when making any decision in life, whether it's good or bad. Always be confident, because if I'm not confident, then all my other values fall out the window. I also want to go back a few lessons ago and talk about some of my leadership values. These values not only can lead me in my professional life, but my personal life as well. Some of my leadership values consist of having a vision. Without a vision, I won't ever accomplish anything. I always tell myself to know what my vision is and how I can and will accomplish it. And lastly, I always have to keep my faith. I might get far without it, but I know with it and how I strongly feel about it, I would get even further with it. So I always have to keep my faith even when things aren't going my way. The next part of this discussion board, we're just supposed to choose a recent ethical dilemma in sports. And I chose the subject of the NBA's involvement with politics. So as many of you know, the NBA and other major league sports have been very vocal and transparent with their involvement with the Black Lives Matter movement, police brutality, and fighting for social justice overall. The NBA has been very involved with voicing their opinions on social justice through different messages. One of the main forms of showing support is having different names on the back of their jerseys rather than their own last name. Some of those messages do include the names of victims who have lost their life to police brutality, Black Lives Matter, say their names, vote, I can't breathe, justice, peace, equality, freedom, enough, power to the people, just now, and many more, just to name a few. They also show support by wearing shirts, speaking on different situations doing their media interviews, using their social media to spread awareness, and even taking a knee during the national anthem or boycotting games when another act of police brutality occurs, which they did earlier this season. Even though myself and millions of other NBA fans and people who are fighting for the same social justice as the NBA believes it's a great thing for them to do, and some don't agree, such as Donald Trump. He made a statement basically saying people don't want to be confronted with politics while watching sports, and it seems to have some truth because NBA rankings have dropped 39% since returning to play, which is why I believe using the issue contingent model will best fit this type of sport dilemma. Moral intensity is the foundation of the issue contingent as mentioned in the book, and is broken up into 5 components. The first component is the magnitude of consequences. So for example, going back to the NBA social justice correlation with politics, how will the NBA benefit from supporting social justice, or how will they be harmed? By showing their support, their ratings have dropped, but they have also brought more media awareness to the subject at hand by taking a stand and voicing their views on the topic. The second one is social consensus, agreement within an organization or community. The NBA made a conscious decision to resume the NBA season with 3 factors in terms of how it was that they would restart. And social justice was one of the top 3, or the top one out of the 3 factors. It was agreed upon by not only the players, but coaches and the NBA commissioner and his staff as well. The third one is the probability of effect. The NBA already knew of the backlash they would receive for having their inputs with politics, since they have been told once before to shut up and dribble when they did try to voice their opinion, or when they did voice their opinion a couple years back about police brutality and Black Lives Matter. And Trump stated he nor anybody else wants to see politics when watching sports. The NBA has used this platform to show support, even if that meant losing views or supporters. The fourth one is temporal immediacy. I messed that up, I'm sorry. Which is a decision had to be made as to whether or not to continue the season, and how it would incorporate a new policy and correlations to protecting players and staff if and when entering the NBA bubble. And then lastly is proximity, the feeling of nearness to social justice. A lot of NBA players have some type of connection with the different social justice movements that have occurred and still happening, especially the African American players who have lost family members and friends to police brutality, and who have also been victims of police brutality or discrimination of some sort. And that's all I have for you.